In this video, I will be discussing the editing concepts that are displayed in Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey. But before I get into these concepts, let me first define what editing is. According to Looking at Movies, editing, the basic creative force of filmmaking, is the process of selecting, arranging, and assembling the essential components of a movie, whether visual, sound, or special effects, to tell a story in a unique way. The concepts I will be discussing within this response is match cuts, in particular two types, which is match on action and graphic match cut. I will also discuss the overall meaning in regards to cool show's effect. Match cuts are cuts where shots A and B match in action, subject, graphic content, or eye contact between two characters, which help create a sense of continuity. The first type of match cut I will be discussing is match on action. Match on action shows the continuation of a character's and/or object's motion through a place without showing the entire action. The scene where Dave was stepping through the door was a great example of this. This scene shows match on action because it is divided into two shots. One shot, or shot A, was him walking through the door and the camera was pointed horizontally. And the other shot, shot B, was him walking through the door with the camera pointing vertically. These images were matched instantly by the audience without little to any notice of the differentiations. The second type of match cut discussed will be graphic match cut. Graphic match cut is the similarities between two shots, which is due to the form and shape of what is being shown. Whether it's the color, the shape, or the texture, they match. The opening scene shows a transition of numerous years simply by tossing a bone in the air. This is an example of graphic match cut because the transition of the bone is not just showing numerous years passing by, but it literally transitions into a spaceship that holds the same shape, form, and rotation as the bone that was tossed in the air. Stanley Kubrick's usage of graphic match cut can be related to Orson Welles' usage in Citizen Kane. In particular, the opening scene where it shows Citizen Kane dying in his last words and then transitions to his life story and childhood in the same constructed way. Let's move on and discuss the overall meaning of the 2000 A Space Odyssey. Before we discuss the meaning in particular, let's define what cool show's effect is. Cool show's effect is the effect of perceiving a spatial relationship when given minimum visual information or when presented with shots filmed at entirely different times and or places. In other words, this is an effect where two shots do not need to have an actual relationship with one another for this effect and or indistinguishable relationship to appear in the audience's mind. This effect allows us to fill in the blank, similar to how the audience is allowed to interpret the meaning of this film to whatever extent deemed necessary. 2001 A Space Odyssey is a film portrayed in a relatively slow pace, in which one would have to be paying close attention to the content of the film. According to Stanley Kubrick, a film is, or should be, more like music than fiction. It should be a progression of moods and feelings. The theme, what's behind the emotion, the meaning, all that comes later. Kubrick did a good job executing the feelings and having the meaning come later. The first meaning derived from this film is constant discovery. As humans, as mankind, we strive for the continuation of discovery. We desire to know what is and what isn't, and in what ways will something function effectively. The second meaning derived from this film is predetermined fate. Our fate in life is not our decision. It is up to the predetermined. We as human race desire to direct our lives in the way in which would satisfy us the most, without realizing us doing so to ourselves is actually hurting us and our surroundings more than it is helping anyone and anything in any situation. The last meaning derived from this film is more like 4 collective themes, or maybe 3, depending how you look at it. Life, death, fear, and innovation. These things can be viewed at and constructed differently depending on the audience's perception of the particular scene at play. In conclusion, backed up by the previously mentioned meanings and themes, one could see how Kubrick's ability to derive several different interpretations and meanings in regard to his presented content allowed for 2001: A Space Odyssey to have earned and be listed on the AFL's Top 100 list numerous times.